Hello, good people. How are you today? I hope that you are doing well and that you are in perfect peace in every area of your life. So, welcome to the channel or welcome back to the channel. Either way, I'm very happy to have you here. I'd like to thank you in advance for your subscription to the channel if you haven't already. I thank you for all of your engagement to the channel. I thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, sharing the video, and having conversations even afterwards with the information that I present to you on this channel. So I like to give my disclaimer. I am not a medical doctor, and the full disclaimer is in the description below. I am a uterine health advocate. So this channel is called Uterine Health. Let's talk about it. So let's talk about today's topic. So in the previous video that I posted about a rare condition called Mayer-Rokitansky-Küster Hauser, and it's better known as MRKH syndrome. This is a syndrome for women that are, it's a rare syndrome, but it's a syndrome for women that are born without a uterus. And so I highly recommend that you go back and review the previous video, and then because this is an add-on to the information I provided in that video. So today I wanted to share, because it got me thinking about a woman born without a uterus. Can you have a baby if you're born without a uterus? So that's what the topic of today's topic will be. So please know that any of the content that I provide on this channel is for educational and awareness purposes regarding uterine health topics, issues, cancers, concerns, and syndromes. And I do that because I have such a passion for it, because I feel like as women, and men need to know this as well, but especially as women, it is important and vital that we know what is and is not happening in our bodies. So when I found out about the syndrome, I felt like it was very important to make us aware that this exists. And then now I want to talk about the possibilities, or can you have a baby if you don't have a uterus. So it was last week, while conducting research, that I discovered that you could be born without a uterus. And that's when I discovered about the MRKH syndrome. And hopefully you can hear me over the beautiful people that are flying to a wonderful destination above me. So that's when I found out about the syndrome. Additionally, I discovered that you do need a uterus to carry a baby, but that does not mean you cannot have a baby if you don't have a uterus. It means that you cannot carry the pregnancy yourself naturally. So I'm going to repeat that because, our travelers were up above. But so I discovered that you do need a uterus for you to be able to carry a baby. But that does not mean that you cannot have a baby if you don't have a uterus. It means you cannot carry the pregnancy yourself naturally. So I hope I made that very clear and plain. So if you were born with the syndrome, that's what I'm going to call it. It's the syndrome is named after the four people, I guess, that discovered this and added on to it. So it's four last names, and so but it's known as the MRKH syndrome. So I'm calling it the syndrome in this video. So if you were born without a uterus due to a condition like the syndrome, you cannot provide the physical environment required for an embryo to implant and grow, because we know once the embryo implants and grow, it needs the uterus to be able to house and help the baby develop along during the 9 months. However, modern medicine provides several pathways to parenthood. So I found all of this interesting. So there's two options that I did find in my research. So if you're born without a uterus, the first option you have is called gestational surrogacy. Okay, so if your ovaries are still intact and functioning, they continue to produce eggs even if you don't have a uterus. So you may be, because some people born without a uterus does have their ovaries. So if your ovaries are still intact and they are functioning, they can still produce eggs even though the uterus is missing. So when you go through this process of surrogacy, there is three things that happens during this. So there's the process, the carrier, and the outcome. During the process, doctors harvest your mature eggs and fertilize them with sperm in a lab using in vitro fertilization, which we commonly known as IVF. So the second thing is the process. The resulting embryo from the IVF is transferred into the uterus of a surrogacy. They call it gestational surrogacy. Um, and then which is a person that essentially carries the baby for you. And then the third part of this process is you can have a child that is 100% genetically yours while the surrogate carries and delivers the baby for you. So the first option, if you are a person that has the syndrome and born without a uterus, there is gestational surrogacy. And that's where doctors take your mature eggs and they fertilize them with the sperm of your husband and partner, or however you proceed, and in a lab and via the IVF process. And the second part is that they then take that embryo that's made via IVF and transfer it into the uterus that will be carrying the baby, which is the surrogacy. And then outcome is that the baby is yours genetically because it has your egg and the sperm of your partner, your husband, and the surrogacy carries and delivers the baby for you. I know we've all heard about people having babies for surrogacy. So now you know that even if the baby is surrogate, it is genetically the mother's and the father's baby. The other way is uterine transplantation is what it's called. It is, and this is a highly complex, newer medical advancement for individuals experiencing absolute uterine factor infertility. So this is really for women that are born with the syndrome without a uterus, because it says that are experiencing absolute uterine factor infertility. So there's also a process, outcome, and the catch for this as well. So the process is a healthy uterus from a living or deceased donor is surgically implanted into your body. And the outcome is, so they take somebody, like for myself, if I was going to donate my uterus, they would take it from me because they say living or deceased, and they will implant it into your body, a woman that has the syndrome born without a uterus. And so the outcome after a successful recovery, because it is a very complex surgery, after a successful recovery, the embryos that were created via IVF are transferred to the transplanted womb, allowing you to carry the pregnancy, and you have to give birth via C-section. So you can have a child through this process. Is almost like, organ donation. And so that uterus was now planted inside of you, and they take the embryo made via IVF and they plant it inside of yourself, and you are able to carry the pregnancy. At birthing time, you will have a C-section. There's a catch though. So for this particular procedure, you must take immune suppressant drugs to prevent organ rejection. Once you have had 1 or 2 successful deliveries, babies, the transplant uterus is surgically removed so that you can stop taking the medication. So for this, there's a process, there's an outcome, and there's a catch. So the process is you get a healthy uterus from a living donor, and it's transplanted to your body. And after a successful recovery, an embryo created via IVF is transferred into your womb, and it allows you to carry to pregnancy and have a C-section. But after 1 to 2 successful deliveries, you will have to have the transplant surgically removed so you can stop taking the medication, because you have to take the immune suppressant drugs so that your body will not reject the organ that you've been given. So I personally, I don't know about you, it looks like it's going to rain. I personally find this very encouraging for women that didn't have a choice in their childbearing decision due to being born without a uterus. There are still options for having children. You have your surrogacy, and you have your uterus organ donation. So I found that to be very, to me, I found it to be very encouraging. And as always, I highly recommend you speak with your doctor so that you will understand all the risk involved in either of the procedures and what's the best option for you. Because you have to remember, we are all different. So what might work well for one person might not be the best option for you. depending on your health and underlying conditions and risk as well. So, of course, if your uterus, if you don't have functioning ovaries, I should say, and you choose not to go the surrogate route, and you prefer not to undergo a complex surgery like a uterus donor operation, then adoption and, of course, fostering is an excellent way to build your family as well. So, you know, that option is still available for you. So it allows you to become a parent without any biological or medical intervention. So it's always good to talk to your family. It's always good to talk to your doctor when you look at all of the options and you decide, if that's your goal to build a family, what is the best for you? What is the safest for you? What is the healthiest for you and the baby that you know, would love to have added to your family. So there's also, important health and safety warnings too. So they said that these options can also be applied to women that's had a hysterectomy, which is a surgical procedure where they have to remove the uterus. And we know that that can happen for a varied number of reasons. So if you've had a hysterectomy, but still have your ovaries and fallopian tubes, there's a extremely small rare risk of experiencing an ectopic pregnancy. This happens if the egg is fertilized and attempts to implant outside the womb, such as it tries to implant itself because you don't have a womb. So it tries to implant itself, such as in the fallopian tube or anywhere in the abdominal, in the stomach cavity. An ectopic pregnancy cannot result in a live birth and is life-threatening medical emergency. So if you know that you're having an ectopic pregnancy, it requires immediate attention. And from what I was reading in my research, um, this procedure for this ectopic pregnancy really applies to women, although they said it is rare, a rare risk. It applies to women that's had a hysterectomy, not so much women that was born without a uterus. So hope that makes that plain for you. So in my research, I was reading that um, some women do harvest their eggs before the hysterectomy so that they can have options for family planning as well. So that's why these options are available for women that have hysterectomy. So either way it go, there is options for you to build your family even if you don't have a uterus. So I just want you to know that I want you to remember that I am not a medical doctor. I am your uterine health advocate, and I always provide like high level bullet point information. And I provide some research articles that you can use that for your own self to start your own research and make decisions that are best for you. This is research that you can discuss with your family, your doctor, about the various topics that I present here. If any one of them rings, true to you, or it sounds like something that you may be interested in or going through in your own life. So, and I place I have 3 articles here that I did read and reviewed, and I always place them in the description so you can have them later if you would like to do, further research. So the 3 references that I have for today is an article from Very Well Health from June 2026, Can You Get Pregnant After a Hysterectomy? The second one is from the Cleveland Clinic. It was from June 2025. It talks about uterine transplant, the purpose, procedure, recovery, and the risk. The third one is from the University of Utah Health, and this is from March 2016. Uterine transplant could allow women born without a uterus to carry their own babies. And I found that all 3 of these were very good articles, and there are plenty of other information because, once you go down a rabbit hole, there are things that are there for you. So I wanted to provide this information because it is a topic that affects uterine health, right? The first video I did last week was about women born without a uterus, which was new information to me because I didn't know, and which led me to wonder, can you still have a baby if you don't have a uterus? Because these are things we're not always taught, not always talked about, and these are things that need to be talked about, and need to be talked about even with our daughters, again, our nieces, other girlfriends, so that we're made aware of these things, and it might be of help to someone else. You just never know. I always find that I always have I'm always reading something, so I always have a wealth of random information, and sometimes that random information might be the information that somebody else needs. So as always, I thank you for engaging in this channel. I thank you for following along, and I pray, if nothing else, that this channel helps you to be kind to yourself. If you're feeling any discomfort, any pain, please go see a doctor immediately. I also hope that it encourages you to have grace for other women, because sometimes things are happening to them and they don't know, and you may judge them mistakenly. I know I've done that before. So I pray that we have grace for each other as women, because we're women, but we're all different, and we're all going through things on this uterine health journey that wasn't talked about, and so I'm talking about it now. So uterine health. Let's continue to talk about these things. I hope that you have a fantastic day. Take care.